So I want to do something different today. I want to be honest with you guys about where I am and what's going on in my own life. It's not going to be a normal episode. I'm just going to talk for a while. So hopefully this helps somebody who may be going through something similar or have gone through something similar in your own life. But I want to talk while I'm actually in it, while I'm going through it, what my day-to-day is like, and not wait until after the fact. I feel like God has really been placing that on my heart lately to share how I feel right now, even though I may not have come out of this situation. But how am I feeling on a daily basis? How am I making it through? And hopefully it helps somebody else. So for those of you who don't know, about 3.5 months ago, I left the job that I was at. Really felt like God was calling me into a season of obedience and trusting him. So I decided that I would step away from the job that I was making really good money at that job. But I really felt like I wasn't meant to be there. I wasn't supposed to be there. And I wasn't doing in my life what God had called me to do. And it had really been weighing on me for some time. And so ministry for me has always been the podcast and as well as, speaking at churches here or there. But I felt like God was calling me in the season to really just focus on ministry and to focus on some other things in my life. So I stepped away from the job. I did have another job lined up at the time. And I was just really stepping out on faith to see what my obedience would get me with God. And I really felt like he was telling me your obedience is going to lead you to that next thing. So that's what I was trying to do. So I stepped away from that job and I had a plan to sustain myself for a certain amount of time financially and whatnot. And I began to execute that plan. But I hit a lot of roadblocks along the way, and things, of course, don't always go as you think they're going to go. And I kind of had a schedule and a time and a plan of where I thought things would end up. And, by a certain amount of time, I'd be working again, and things haven't worked out that way. So I just want to share with you kind of the journey, how it's been. But the first thing that I want to just share and just to be honest and open about is how I feel, what has happened with me. And to be honest, although it's been a season of trying to be obedient with God, it has not been easy. And a lot of different things have happened. And the first one that I want to share is during this season, I gained a lot of weight. So a lot of the anxiety and the things that comes along with, not being financially where you want to be and not having the money and not knowing where it's going to come from and how you're going to do this and how you're going to pay that bill has led to some poor eating habits and some bad habits all around. And for me, that's been very tough because before this season, a couple of years ago, I had kind of entered into a season where I was in the best shape probably of my life. And so it's been difficult dealing with that. And what I'll say about that is that has kind of caused a bunch of issues in itself. Number one, just normal self-esteem issues, and then also like complete isolation away from friends, not wanting to be around friends and hang out. And some of that's financial and some of that's just, like I said, with the weight gain and how I feel. But so that's been going on. The other thing that's been going on has been a real mental struggle, just, to some degree, not being able to be the man that I, know that I am and being able to provide on the level that I know I can in this season financially has really been a struggle as well. And I think that's one of the things that we don't talk about often is that sometimes your obedience to God can lead you into these seasons where everything doesn't feel great and doesn't feel good. And that's kind of where I'm finding myself. So mentally on a day-to-day basis, there have been some days where it's been a real struggle, some days where I've been completely down and out, didn't want to speak to people, didn't want to do things. And I really had to find a way to deal with that. And then right along with that, obviously always applying to jobs, looking for jobs, talking to different people, doing some interviews. And one of the things that really has been difficult in the season is the sheer amount of no's that I've heard from different entities. And that can really weigh on you because that can start to feel like, you're inadequate and you're not good enough, and you start to question yourself and start to think, well, maybe I made a mistake and maybe, I heard God wrong and I didn't do what I was supposed to do, or this is punishment for something. Like all of those things can start to come into your head and you can really start to believe that, it's you and you're not good enough. And so that's been part of the mental struggle that I've gone through as well during this season. So I just wanted to be honest about all that, where I am, and share it like while I'm going through it and how I feel kind of on a daily basis. Now, what I will say about the season, number one, is that God has made a way in a lot of ways that I will say didn't feel good to me. And I just want to share that with you, that when you find yourself in these seasons, a lot of the times, the things that God does in your life, they won't necessarily feel good to you because they won't be the way that you want them done. If you need that bill paid, he may make a way for you to pay that bill, but maybe you had to ask somebody for money and you don't really want to ask somebody else for money and have your hand out. So I've really seen God moving in this season and making ways here or there with this and that bill and this thing, and just bringing a little money here and a little money there. And a lot of the times it's never the way that I wanted it to happen. And that's something that I've really had to just humble myself, accept help from others sometimes, and just be okay with God doing it the way that he sees fit to do it in this season. And then right along with that, the other thing is I've really had to find things to do to help me get through this season and to keep myself active and just like engaged in this season, because it's been very difficult mentally on a daily basis, like I was saying. And I'm just going to share a few of the things that has helped me in this season kind of get through. Number one, I rediscovered a passion of mine, which was fishing. So I love to fish. I grew up fishing, so I started doing that again. The other thing was I was coaching flag football during this season for a couple of different teams. So I really just leaned into that and really put effort into that and tried to find enjoyment, when we would have practice, when we'd have games for flag football. And then the other big thing for me that really kind of helped me was, I always love like cooking for others and preparing meals for others. So that's one of the things I've leaned into, is just specifically like cooking meals for my fiance and trying to really lean into that, because that brings me enjoyment to see her, happy and enjoying some good food. So what I want to share about that is when you're going through these seasons, you really, really have to find whatever it is that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, that occupies your mind and your time, and you have to hold on to that. And no matter how minuscule it may seem, small it may seem, insignificant it may seem, hold on to whatever that thing is that brings you any amount of joy, as long as you need to, every single day. I heard a message some time ago, and it was talking about Paul and the shipwreck that he got into, and how they used the pieces of the boat and they held on to pieces of the boat until they got to the shore. It helped them float to the shore. And I really think that's what God has been showing me in this season, is that all these different things, the football, the cooking, all the different things that I've been, doing just to kind of get through, are like those pieces. And those pieces are helping me get to the next place. And even though they may seem broken or seem small, he's put them there for a reason, and that's to help me float to the next spot. So I've really had to lean into that heavily to try to help me through this season. But again, I just wanted to share this. I don't know if this is going to help somebody. I hope it does. If somebody else is dealing with whatever issues in your life you're dealing with, find those things, hold on to them. You'll get to the next season. And don't be afraid to share with others what you're going through while you're going through it. And don't just wait until you come out on the other side. So yeah, currently I don't have, a job lined up or anything. I'm kind of doing some small things here or there to earn money and just trying to, stay on track, stay focused. But this was heavy on my heart for the last 2 weeks. I felt like God was telling me to do this, so I wanted to do it. So don't know when the next episode is coming. Could be sometime. Could be next week. I'm not sure. But whoever's watching this, I just want to thank you for watching, and I hope that it helps you out somehow. God bless.